Good morning, everybody. Oh, wow, y'all are still asleep. Okay. Oh, thank you. Hey, Kyle. Okay, so I just want to thank you for coming this morning, and we have a great program for you. I want you to enjoy it, but I do have one thing to ask. We have several times where people are coming down this middle aisle and the outside aisles, so we can't have anybody standing there or backpacks. So like this backpack right here, can you move it in? I know it's uncomfortable. I'm sorry, baby, but we don't want anybody falling because we do have people going up the sides and the middle several times during the show. So, and please be nice and don't like thump them or anything when they come by because that would be very rude, wouldn't it? Okay, so I hope you enjoy it. We put a lot of work in this, and I just want to draw attention to one person, William Griggs back there with the headphones on, yes. This was his baby. He thought of it. He put everything together, and so this is his doing. Everybody smile. Okay, so. Oh, stop. All right, so if you're ready, we're ready, and here we go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Bolivar Central High 2020 Black History Program. Hey. Okay. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for being here, and please stand as we sing the Black Anthem in Kumbaya.
kumbaya. Oh Lord.
I can't. Our first guest takes us all the way back. She was born in 1797 in Ulster County, New York, as a slave. Her name was Isabella Winfrey, or Belle for short. She was sold 3 times as a slave and later escaped with her daughter Sophia. In 1843, she changed her name to Sojourner Truth and devoted her life as a Methodist and to the abolition of slavery. We now go into the day of the Ohio Women's Rights Convention of 1851, where Ms. Truth shall render a speech to advocate for these rights. I give you Sojourner Truth.
Well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I say twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North all talking about rights. But what's this here talking about? That man there said that women should be helped into carriages, lifted over ditches, and had the best place anywhere. I was never helped into carriages. I was never lifted over mud puddles or had the best place anywhere. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could heed me. And I bear the lash as well. I could eat as much and work as much as a man if I could get it. I've borne 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried with my mother's grief, no one but Jesus heard me. They talk about this thing in the head. What's this they call it? That's it. What does this have to do with women's rights or Negro rights? If my cup only hold a pint and yours hold a quart, wouldn't you be mean enough not to let me have my half measure full? That man there says that women can't have as much as rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did he come from? From God and a woman, and men had nothing to do with it. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, these women ought to come together and turn it right back and get it right side up again. And as they is asking, the men, better let them.
Hi, my name is Jesse Owens, and I'm known to be the most famous athlete in field in history. I'm also a full gold medalist in history also. I'm here to tell y'all about how giving y'all a couple words of encouragement that keeps me and more people in history keep their head up, keep moving on, keep pushing through on what things they really want to do. I want to tell y'all today that if y'all really keep y'all head up, y'all really love something, or basically like an object, for instance, or it could be a person. If you really love that and you really get attached to it, don't let it go. It was one time when I came home from the Olympics with my gold medals, and everybody wanted to shake my hand, pat me on the back, take me to their suite, anything like that. Just basically greet me and congratulate me. And when I got into the hotel and everything, everybody wanted to give me a job and stuff. They wanted to promote me and stuff like that, but those times were hard. But through it all, I persevered. You know, I always loved running. I could go fight through the wind, use the courage in my lungs. I could use bottom of my heels, anything like that. Go any direction, left, right, back and forth, anywhere. A word of advice: if y'all want to just lay around anything, play video games, text, all that, go to sleep, who cares? While you got the time, y'all can just sit there, go visit your cousins, your mother, your grandparents, anything like that. Because while you got the chance, you might as well go ahead and get to know it right now. I want to also tell y'all another word of advice. If y'all have a special career, a job, a skill, or anything like that, or let's say back to video games, if you really enjoy that, just keep your head up, keep pushing through. Who cares if you fail in life? Who cares? Just keep pushing through no matter what. If you really love it, and I mean if like you really, really love it and you really don't want to let it go, keep on pushing through. Don't let it go at all. Just say for instance, like you got a best friend, right? You really do love them. You want to stick to their back and everything. If they get in a fight, you want to stick into. Keep sticking with them no matter what. They don't break your back, then they won't break yours. So no matter what, stick with their back, no matter what. So if you want to always love everything you want, keep your head up. And I mean never, never let them or their job or career or anything let go. Thank you.
Our next guest is no stranger to us. An educated, well-dressed man and well-mannered. A man of strength, perseverance, and change. One who believes in pushing his country forward and strive to see the best in American people. I ask that you now please stand with me to introduce our 44th president, Barack Hussein Obama.
Huh? Okay, well, who's supposed to get this? Here. No, I'm supposed to give mine to Max.
Oh my God. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I would like to tell you a brief story about my life when I was about your age. I was a freshman at Occidental College in California. I had a somewhat bit of a rocky and used teenage years. My father wasn't home. I was living with my grandparents partly in high school. I got into trouble occasionally. I was what my mother called a good luck Charlie, meaning I wasn't really serious about my turns and works and studies. Had some awareness of the world around me, had some sense of injustice and unfairness. And I remember in 1979 arriving as a freshman at college, doing what freshmen do, trying to figure out what courses are, and trying to change my study habits, trying to identify what the cafeteria food is. We were visited on campus by a group of gentlemen from South Africa. In about an hour, myself and a group of students sat down and listened to these guys who were not much older than we were, describe the extraordinary struggles they are going through, the sacrifices that were being made, people enduring jail, torture, and beatings, because they had some sense, somehow, some way, justice would prevail. And that brief meeting, I think, in some way changed my life, because what it told me, first of all, was that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they are given an opportunity. We sometimes think that our leaders have to have fancy degrees or well-educated or some public office somewhere. These young men had none of those things. But what they possessed was an anger over injustice that they were able to channel in a constructive, positive way. I thought to myself, they gave me some sense of direction that my life might go. I became active in the anti-apartheid movement on campuses, and I'm not sure we were particularly effective. I transferred to Columbia, and there was similar resistance on Columbia's campus. But over time, I like to think that I was part of a mosaic that applied pressure and ultimately helped those in South Africa achieve their extraordinary liberation. that I would almost witness 10 years later as a lawsuit. And I remember an image of Nelson Mandela walking out of prison and understanding that a seminal moment in history had occurred, and that Mandela's long march towards freedom was not his alone, but was part of 1,000 footsteps, of million footsteps of people around the world. And I trace back me getting involved in politics to the moment because as a consequence of that organizing on a college campus, I became a community organizer. And as a consequence of a community organizer, after going back to law school, I became a civil rights attorney. And as a consequence of a civil rights attorney, I entered the state legislature as a senator and president of the United States. All of you represent enormous potential, enormous possibility for a change, because we all know that injustice still exists. It exists here in the United States in every foreign neighborhood and every inner city and every rural community all across the country. So I hope that all of you who are on the brink of doing extraordinary things decide to channel their talent and their energy and their imagination to figuring out how do you move the process along for better history. You know how. How do you put your shoulder against the wheel and move that boulder up the hill? And I am absolutely confident that if all of you take up that challenge, the world is waiting for you, ready to be changed. And so I hope that as you see the recipients of this award, you recognize that it's actually more of a tool to give you a little spark and drive you in the wonderful directions that I hope your lives take you in the years to come. So thank you very much.
A famous African American once quoted, "Stand for anything or you'll fall for something." This is ironic considering the fact that what she stood up for, others sat down for. She sat because she was tired, not tired of aging, but tired of giving in. I give you Ms. Rosa Parks.
I was born Rosa McCauley on February 4th, 1913, in Tuskegee, Alabama. When my parents separated, we moved to Pine Level, Alabama to live with my grandparents, who were civil rights activists. My education was in segregated schools. Mother taught me to read. I needed someone to help me because the school lacked adequate school supplies and desks. Not only that, we were forced to walk to school while whites had school buses for transportation. I eventually made it to Alabama State Teachers College for Negroes, but had to leave to take care of my mother and grandmother who were ill. My life changed when I met and married Raymond Parks, a barber and active member of the NAACP. We moved to Montgomery, Alabama, and there we became civil rights activists.
You don't make it line, so we have those front seat. You gonna move?
No.
If you don't move, I have to have you arrested.
Well, you may do that.
seems to be sitting in the colored section.
Well, I need that seat. She won't move. I need to have her arrested.
Well, the law's the law, lady. You're under arrest.
At the time I was arrested, I had no idea it would turn into this. It was a day like any other day. The only thing that made it significant was the mass of people that joined in. I brought attention to the plight of the Negro because I was tired of being treated like a second-class citizen. I do the very best I can to look upon life with optimism and hope and looking forward to a better day. I think when you say you're happy, you have everything you want and everything you need and nothing more to wish for. I haven't reached that stage in life yet. I lost my job. My husband was fired. No one will hire us. We left the South for Detroit, Michigan, and there we made a new life for ourselves.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oprah Winfrey. You all may know me from my show, The Oprah Winfrey Show. But my career started in 1976 when I hosted the show People Are Talking. 10 years later, that's when I established my show, The Oprah Winfrey Show. But growing up, I had a troubled adolescence. I was sexually abused by many male relatives and friends of my mother. But there's a story that I know and I think you should know. But it's not just a story affecting the entertainment industry. It's one that transcends any culture, geography, race, religion, politics, or workplace. So I want today to express gratitude to all the women who have endured years of abuse and assault because they, like my mother, had children to feed, bills to pay, and dreams to pursue. They're the women whose names we'll never know. They are domestic workers and farm workers. They are working in factories, and they work in restaurants, and they're in academia, engineering, medicine, and science. They're a part of the world of tech and politics and business. There are athletes in the Olympics and our soldiers in the military. And there's someone else, Reese Taylor, a name I know and I think you should know too. In 1944, Reese Taylor was a young wife and mother walking home from a church service she attended in Abbeville, Alabama, when she was abducted by 6 armed white men, raped, and left blindfolded by the side of the road on the way from church. They threatened to kill her if she ever told anyone, but her story was reported to the NAACP, where a young worker by the name of Rosa Parks became the lead investigator on her case, and together they sought justice. But justice wasn't an option in the era of Jim Crow. The men who tried to destroy her were never prosecuted. Reese Taylor died recently, just shy of her 98th birthday. She lived as we all have lived, broken in a culture broken brutally by powerful men. For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dare speak the truth against the power of those men. Their time is up. Their time is up. Their time is up. And I just hope that Reese Taylor died knowing the truth like the truth of so many other women who were tormented in those years, and even now, tormented goes marching on. It was somewhere in Rosa Parks' heart almost 11 years later when she decided to stay seated on that bus in Montgomery. And it's here with every woman who chooses to say, me too, and every man who chooses to listen. In my career, what I've always tried my best to do, whether on television or through film, is to say something about how men and women really behave, to say how we experience shame, how we love, and how we rage, how we fail, how we retreat, persevere, and how we overcome. I've interviewed and portrayed people who withstood some of the ugliest things life can throw at you. But what they all seem to share is an ability to maintain hope and hope for a brighter morning, even during our darkest nights. So I want all the women here tonight to know that a new day is on the horizon. And when that new day finally dawns, it will be because of a lot of magnificent women, and many of whom are right here in this room today. And for some pretty phenomenal men fighting hard to make sure they become the leaders who take us to the time when nobody ever has to say, me too, again.
Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within the strength, the perseverance, and the patience to reach for the stars to change the world. Railroad conductors had many responsibilities. They must ensure the safety of their passengers and precious cargo. When you see why their job is so important, this conductor we talk about today wasn't an ordinary conductor. She was one that believed her many journeys were spirit-led by God himself and took her job as serious as life and death. I introduce to you Miss Harriet Tubman.
My name is Mitty Ross. That's the name my mama gave me. I was born, I think, in 1820, Dorchester County, Maryland, a slave. I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. My life as a slave was unbearable. Slavery is the next thing to hell. If a person would send another into bondage, he would, it appears to me, be bad enough to send him into hell if he could. I had two sisters. They was carried away in a chain gang. One of them left two children, babies for others to tend to. We were always uneasy. But vivid dreams and my faith in the Lord led me to believe I had the right to one of two things: liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other. I would fight for my liberty so long as my strength lasted, and if the time came for me to go, the good Lord would let them take me. There was only one thing I could do. I had to escape, to cross that line. So I ran, and I ran, and I ran, pursued at every turn. But then a feeling rushed over me. I made it. I crossed the line. I was free. But there was no one to welcome me to the land of freedom. I was a stranger in a strange land. Though the land was strange, I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came up through the trees like gold, and it felt like I was in heaven. Then and there, in 1849, I changed my name to Harriet Tubman. Harriet after my mother, and Tubman after my husband. As I began to get my bearings, I realized that my freedom was not enough. I had to go back for the ones I left behind. So I became a part of what they call the Underground Railroad. I was the conductor for 8 years. I led over 300 slaves to glorious freedom. And I can say what most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it. Before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm waiting through the muddy waters. You know I gotta make up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Just as fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across
And I quote, "An individual who has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of humanity. A pastor, a civil rights leader, an activist for equality and justice, a man who walked our neighborhood streets and died on our doorstep. I give you Martin Luther King, Jr."
You all might recognize me from I Have a Dream speech. But today I'm going to speak to you on something a little bit different. One night, I had a strange experience around midnight. Midnight is the time where all the weird things begin to happen. I received a call from an unknown person that had an ugly voice. The person said to me, "We're giving you 3 days. 3 days to leave your home, or we will hurt you and burn down your home." This has been said to me many times before, but this time it really affected me. So I decided to go into the kitchen and fix me a cup of coffee to sort of calm my nerves. Then I began to think about all that I studied in sin and evil. But I said to myself, I can't find my answer there. I began to think about our sweet daughter that had been born a month ago. We have 4 children now, but it was something about her that always captivated me. It was her smile that always touched my heart. But then I thought about the fact that she could be taken away from me and how much pain that would give me. Then I also began to think about my strong, hard-working wife that could also be taken away from me, or I taken away from her. As the overwhelming pressure rolled through my brain, I said to myself, I cannot rely on my mother nor my father that is so far away. I have to call on that name that is Jesus. I prayed to him about how I'm doing my very best, but I must admit, I'm starting to lose myself. If my fellow people were to see me like this, it will bring them down as well. Just then a voice said to me, "They need to stand up for righteousness. I need to stand up for justice. Stand up for truth. I will be with you even at the end of the world." Then the voice of Jesus also said to me that he will never leave me even until the end of the world. Now in my final words, I say to you all, rise up. Rise in strength. Rise in power. Rise in love. Just as Jesus Christ has done for me.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise like the day, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves, I'll rise up in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. All we need, all we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. Well, we will rise, we will rise, we'll rise. Oh, oh, oh. We'll rise. Now rise up. I like the waves. I'll rise up. In spite of the egg, I'll rise 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
And what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one, in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have as a basic principle the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Thank you for coming. This concludes our 2020 Black History program. I hope you enjoyed and have a nice rest of the day.